Land judging in North Dakota is an annual event held in August where 4-H and FFA students assess soil properties, observe soil profiles, and make management recommendations based on those observations. The land judging contest teaches students the importance of soil and gives an appreciation of North Dakota's most important natural resource, soils. Land judging is based on the land capability classes used by the U.S. Department of Agriculture Natural Resources Conservation Service. The United States has 8 possible land classes, 7 of which can be found in North Dakota. Classes 1 through 4 are cropland soils. Class 1 soils are very good cropland and have few limitations. However, due to climatic reasons, Class 1 soils do not exist in North Dakota. Class 2 soils are North Dakota's best soils with gentle slopes and moderate management limitations. Class 3 soils have 6.1 to 9% slopes and have severe management limitations. Class 4 soils are croplands with very severe management limitations. Class 5 soils are wetlands, woodlands, and wildlife habitat. The competition will not have a Class 5 soil. Classes 6 and 7 are pasture lands. Class 6 soils are improved range, while Class 7 are rangelands with severe limitations. Class 8 soils are badland soils and will not be used in the North Dakota land judging competition. Soil texture is a way to describe the size of soil particles. Soil texture is the mineral fraction of the soil that is smaller than 2 millimeters. Plant roots and other debris do not count and should be removed. Rocks bigger than 2 millimeters should be removed when estimating soil texture. The land judging competition divides the soil texture into 5 separate groups. Those groups are coarse, moderately coarse, medium, moderately fine, and fine. Estimating soil texture is done by making a mud ball roughly the size of a quarter to a 50-cent piece. Add water to the soil and work with your fingers. The ideal consistency should feel similar to putty. If the soil is shiny, that means there is too much water and adding a pinch or two of soil can help dry. Once the soil is worked to the correct moisture consistency, make a soil ribbon. A ribbon is made by pressing the mud ball out between your thumb and pointer finger. The length of the soil ribbon is used to estimate the soil texture. If the soil does not form a ribbon, the soil is coarse texture. Soils that ribbon 2 inches or longer are fine textured. Fine soils are comprised mostly of clay and should feel hard to work in your hands. Soils that ribbon 1 to 2 inches are moderately fine. Soils that form a ribbon but less than 1 inch are either medium or moderately coarse texture. To determine whether the soil texture is medium or moderately coarse, excessively wet the soil and rub your soiled palm with a forefinger. If the soil feels gritty like sandpaper, the soil is moderately coarse. However, if the soil does not feel gritty, the soil is medium. Medium and moderately fine soils may also feel smooth due to silt. The competition will have topsoil and subsoil textures placed in separate buckets. The subsoil texture influences a soil's permeability. Coarse soils have rapid permeability. Moderate permeability has moderately coarse, medium, or moderately fine subsoil textures. Observing soil color impacts permeability as well. Soils that are brightly colored, such as hues of yellow, are moderate. Slow permeability has mottles and a moderately fine to fine subsoil texture. Mottles are splotches of rust or gray colors. These colors need to be observed at depths of 15 to 20 inches. Soils that have very slow permeability are fine subsoil textures and have dull gray or olive colors. Depth of soil refers to the total thickness of the top and subsoil. Topsoil depth is estimated with a pocket knife. To estimate topsoil thickness, slice the soil face from the surface downward. The topsoil-subsoil interface is at the depth where you feel a change in resistance. Note that the soil pit has a series of strings. Competition officials made their determinations within the strings. Land judges cannot touch the soil within the strings. Deep soils are deeper than 36 inches. Moderately deep soils are 20 to 36 inches. Shallow soils are 10 to 20 inches, and very shallow soils are less than 10 inches. Look for limiting layers and roots within the strings. Gravel layers more than 3 inches thick, clay plates columnar structure, and bedrock are all soil features that reduce soil depth. Two stakes are placed 100 feet away. Slope is estimated between the two stakes. Transits or other slope estimating devices are restricted. Slope is divided into 6 categories and divided by 3% per category. 0 to 3% slopes are nearly level. 3.1 to 6% slopes are gently sloping. Moderate sloping landscapes range from 6.1 to 9%. Strongly sloping are 9.1 to 12%. Steep soils have 12.1 to 15% slopes, and very steep slopes are greater than 15%. Erosion is the detachment, movement, and placement of soil. Erosion is a natural process, but due to excessive tillage over time and poor management, soil quality can be greatly reduced. This can cause environmental issues and reduce crop yields. Many soils in North Dakota are degraded. Each soil pit has a site card with location information. The site card gives the original topsoil thickness. Original topsoil thickness and present topsoil thickness are needed to evaluate past erosion. Past erosion is determined by finding the difference of original topsoil depth and present topsoil depth and dividing it by the original topsoil depth and multiplying that product by 100. Soils that have less than 25% of the surface soil removed are in the none to slight category. Moderate past erosion are soils that have 25 to 75% of the surface soil removed. Severe erosion occurs on soils that have 75% or more erosion without gullies. Very severe past erosion sites have greater than 75% with gullies present. North Dakota is the windiest state. Wind erosion hazard is determined by a combination of surface texture and soil conditions. Very high has a coarse texture with a surface depth of less than 6 inches. High wind erosion hazards are coarse textured soils. Moderately susceptible soils are moderately coarse or fine. Medium and moderately fine textures with carbonates are also in the moderate category. Soils that are in the low category are medium and moderately fine surface textured soils. Steepness, length of slope, landscape shape, past erosion, and surface texture are all involved in the rate of water runoff and susceptibility to water erosion. Slope and past erosion impact water erosion hazard. Low susceptibility has a 0 to 3% slope. Moderate susceptibility has a 3.1 to 6% slope. High water erosion soils have 3.1 to 9% slopes or greater than 9% slopes with none to moderate past erosion. Very high water erosion hazard soils have slopes greater than 9% with severe or very severe past erosion. Soluble salts greatly influence soil productivity. Excess salts impede plant growth. To determine if salinity is an issue, look for the indicator plants kochia and foxtail barley within the marked site area. Also look for salt crusts, crystals, and threads within the competition site and soil pit. The 4 salinity classifications are not affected, slight, moderate, and severe. Not affected sites have no evidence of salinity. Slight soils have a few whitish crystals detected at the soil surface or in the profile. A few indicator plants may also be present. Moderate saline soils have whitish crystals or crusts present commonly at the soil surface or in the soil surface profile and/or patches of indicator plants in the contest area. Severe saline soils have whitish crystals and crusts abundant at the soil surface and/or in the soil surface profile and/or numerous indicator plants. Surface runoff is an estimate of the runoff potential for the soil from precipitation. It is based on slope and surface texture. Soils with very low surface runoff are nearly level or bowl shapes. The category slow surface runoff has 0 to 1% slopes. Moderate surface runoff sites have a slope of 1 to 9%. Rapid surface runoff sites are sites that have slopes greater than 9% or slopes greater than 3% with a fine soil texture. Major factors that keep areas out of Class 1 are 10 different factors that have been determined from the earlier tutorials of this video. Those factors are climate, surface texture, depth of soil, slope, past erosion, erosion hazard, saltiness or salinity, surface runoff, permeability, and wetness. All soils in North Dakota cannot be Class 1 soils due to climate. Always check the climate box. Once all of the soil, landscape, vegetation, and other factors have been assessed, you can now determine what class the soil is. Fine textured soils are Class 2. Moderately fine and medium textured soils are Class 1. Moderately coarse soils are a Class 3. However, moderately coarse textured soils paired with moderate slopes in a soil renders the site a Class 4 soil. Coarse soils are a Class 4. These are all based on the surface texture. Deep soils are Class 1. Moderately deep soils are Class 2. Shallow soils are Class 3. And very shallow soils are Class 4. Nearly level slopes are Class 1. Gently sloping soils are Class 2. Moderately sloping soils are a Class 3. However, a moderately sloping site paired with a moderately coarse surface texture is a Class 4 soil. Strongly sloping soils are a Class 4, and steep or very steep soils are a Class 6. Sites that have none to slight past erosion are a Class 1. Moderate is a Class 2. Severe past erosion is a Class 4. Very severe past erosion is Class 6. Class 1 soils have low wind and water erosion hazard. Sites that have a moderate erosion hazard are Class 2. High erosion hazard sites are Class 4, and very high erosion hazard sites are Class 6. When it comes to saltiness, not affected sites are Class 1. Slight saltiness is Class 2. Moderate saltiness is Class 3. Severe saltiness is Class 6. Class 1 soils have a slow or moderate surface runoff. Class 2 soils have very slow runoff. Sites that have rapid surface runoff are Class 4. Soils with very slow permeability are Class 2. Soils with slow or moderate permeability are Class 1. Soils with rapid permeability are Class 4. If wetness is an issue, it will be noted on the site card. If wetness is noted and does not refer to drainage, the site is a Class 4. If wetness is on the site card and there is a reference to drainage, the site is a Class 2. Now that we've reviewed the land judging attributes and their respective classes, you can determine what class the soil is. The class of a soil is usually the lowest class contained in the 10 factors previously mentioned. The only exception is a moderately coarse texture on a moderate slope, both of which are a Class 3, but when it's present together, result in a Class 4 soil. Now that the front of the card or Part 1 has been filled out, now you can fill out the back side of the card or Part 2. Part 2 of the card is where you complete recommended land treatments. These are based off of the observations made and what you filled out on the front side of the card. There are 9 categories to select for vegetative treatments. Use soil conserving and/or soil improving crops for selecting cropland soils. Every fourth or fifth year is marked when the soil is a Class 2 and climatic factor is the only major factor that prevents the soil from a Class 1. Every third or fourth year is selected for Class 2 soils when there are 2 or more major factors that prevent the soil from a Class 1. Every second year is selected for Class 3 soils, and every year is selected for Class 4 soils. Practice crop residue management is selected for Class 2, 3, and 4 soils. Select practice conservation tillage for Class 2, 3, and 4 soils. Established recommended grass mixture is selected for Class 6 soils and any soil with severe past erosion. Check Use proper pasture and range management for Class 6 soils. Plant pattern type tree windbreaks is selected for Class 3 and 4 soils with moderately coarse textures and soils having high wind erosion hazard. Use cover crop or annual buffer strips is recommended on Class 3 or 4 moderately coarse soils with a history of summer fallow or in low residue crops. Low residue crops include dry edible beans, potatoes, silage corn, and sugar beets. Surface textured soils that are moderately coarse, and that have surface carbonates requires the recommendation of the site to use cover crop and annual buffer strips. Use only for wildlife or recreation is not used in the North Dakota land judging competition. Use tame grass crop rotation is appropriate to choose on moderately coarse or coarse Class 4 soils. Contestants determine whether the site should use no summer fallow, no fall tillage recommended, fill, shape, and seed waterways, establish diversion terrace, practice wind strip cropping, practice contour strip cropping, and no-till production recommended. Use no summer fallow is recommended on soils that have evidence of salinity, wetness indicated on the card, soils with high susceptibility to erosion, soils with poor moisture storage, and soils with past severe erosion. No fall tillage is recommended in all areas of North Dakota west of Bismarck, Class 4 soils, when soil carbonates are present, or with coarse textured soils subject to wind erosion. Fill, shape, and seed grass waterways is appropriate to choose when active gullies are within the marked field. Select Established Diversion Terrace for sites with steep slopes. Practice wind strip cropping is marked when moderately coarse or coarse soil types with carbonates at the surface are present. Practice contour strip cropping is appropriate if the slope of the landscape is long and even. It is best suited on medium, moderately fine, and fine texture soils when slopes are at 3.1 to 9%. No-till production is recommended for Class 4 soils and Class 3 soils that have a moderately coarse and coarse topsoil texture. Fertility recommendations are made by looking at the site card. Since the contest is in August and the growing season is nearly done, fertilizer recommendations apply to the intended crop noted on the card and not the present crop. Apply lime to soils when soil pH is less than 6.3. Apply nitrogen when the intended crop is not a legume and the nitrogen is listed as deficient. Apply phosphorus when the Olsen phosphorus soil test is below 16 parts per million. Apply potassium when the potassium soil test is less than 150 parts per million. Check fertilizer not needed if the aforementioned soil tests are at the appropriate levels or greater. Rules to keep in mind for land judging are: contestants have 20 minutes to assess a site and complete their card. The contest is comprised of 4 different sites, all within walking distance of each other. No one can talk to each other, copy, or compare cards during the competition. Measuring devices, devices that determine slope, and water bottles are prohibited. Contestants are allowed to use a clipboard, pencil, pocket knife, towel, and contest cards to assess the soil and determine the soil's attributes. Contestants cannot touch soil within the strings marked by contestant officials. For practice sites, buckets of various soil textures and a series of practice slopes will be available around noon the day before the competition. Keys are available to land judging coaches, and contest officials are available to help answer questions. For more information about land judging in North Dakota, contact your local NDSU Extension agent. The land judging publication is available at the NDSU Extension website, www.ndsu.edu/agriculture/extension. This video was adapted from the NDSU Extension Circular, Land Judging in North Dakota, authored by Dave Franzen.